Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast with Dylan and Akram. We're here to review episode 5 of Miss Marvel. It's one episode away from the finale, and I really enjoyed this episode. We got a lot of insight into Kamala's family history, and I think it just really added a lot to her story. So, without skipping a beat, Akram, tell me what you thought of episode 5.
It keeps surprising me. Like, Miss Marvel takes little notes of different properties from the MCU, like Shang-Chi, the little flashback scenes. And I'm all for it. I love this episode. Even if it was like really backstory centralized, I think it was great, honestly. And it felt so huge as well. It was beautiful what they showed, and it was really endearing too. And I'm glad we get to see some more of Kamala's grandmother or great grandmother, right? So, but yeah, what did you think about it?
This episode was my favorite episode so far. I think there was just like a nice rich history behind it because it takes place during the Indian Pakistani partition in 1942. So it has relevance to like the real world events, and I actually found that actually really endearing, because it's like, and it's like dealing with well, her grandmother Aisha, she's a clandestine, right? And she's from this other world, as we've already explained. But it's like she's like choosing to stay in this world, whereas like Kojima is kind of like, I guess she really wants to get home, but like she doesn't, because well, later we find out like what happens to Cameron too. So I thought that was a nice parallel. Like Aisha, like she adopted this world as her own, whereas Kojima is kind of like stuck in the past, I guess, and she kind of wants to return home, but she doesn't realize like that her family was like in front of her this whole time, and also like Kamala, she also kind of like reconnects with her own family too. So I thought that was like a really nice like foil. Like everybody's kind of like reconnecting and discovering they can get past like their generational flaws and just really come together and have a nice moment together. But tell me more. What did you think of like seeing all the well, at least like the moments between like Aisha and like Hassan?
Oh yeah, it was very rich. And I'm glad they showed that because I feel like for Kamala, it's very important because we don't get any backstory, right, whatsoever. So it's very important, and I think it's very beautiful. And I think she's very fortunate to see that. And I think that kind of cements this idea in her head now that family is everything. Even if back then she was kind of like that little tropey thing where it's like, oh, let me get away from my parents, whatever. Here it was very beautiful that she gets to see the struggle and the love. Which I don't know how she was seeing that. Like I don't know if she was just like a spectator, like from far or something. But
Yeah, because she was kind of like part of events, which is
yeah,
weird.
it was weird. I don't know if she's like this overseeing figure or like a Call of Duty like spectator multiplayer, but she seeing that little story and just seeing the struggles too. You have this on one side you have this warrior and on the other side you have this very wise person, and I just like
Hmm.
that how they got together. I thought the whole thing was beautiful. It was very sincere. It was like a really sincere episode.
I think the lack
Um
of actually like no hate on Kamala or the actress, but I feel like having her like be subtracted from this episode really like made it more,
yeah.
I guess, genuine, because
Yeah.
I like shows like that where they kind of like take a break from like what's happening, and then they have like they dedicate like a whole episode to like this little like backstory, and it's like a little
Mm.
mini subplot. So I loved like Aisha's like little family love story, because it feels like, although I did kind of find it weird, like, because they were going back and forth between like Pakistani and like English, so like they spoke like fluent English for
Always
like
they
whole
always do
scenes.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could say like maybe it was like the British influence or something, but like I don't know, it was just kind
Yeah.
of weird because they were speaking like fluent Arabic too, which was weird.
Yeah, it's always that like they just don't want people to like read subtitles or something. Yeah, I'm all for like genuine like just showing the truth. It's kind of like an annoying gripe, but yeah, I actually wanted to ask you too. So now obviously we're reviewing episode 5. Do you feel like this episode kind of detracts from the overall arc of the story, since it was very out there. I mean, it was like a flashback type of like episode, but things have to escalate as we saw towards the end. A lot of things were like surprisingly resolved. So I feel like there's only one danger now. And I think that that danger is probably going to be resolved pretty quickly because they're not like really that bad of an enemy, right? So do you think that this episode kind of like should they put their time more into like important things, or was this nice in like a sentimental type of way? Like what do you think?
I think as far as like the real danger, it kind of wrapped up a little too quickly and I was kind of confused about like how they closed that veil door too.
Yeah.
Because the first clandestine girl, like she got fucking like vaporized when she tried to go through it,
Yeah.
and then Kojima when she went through it, she apparently like closed it for good. So I was like, how the fuck did she close it like by herself? That was a little confusing. I think this episode was more of a focus on like family ties and just like having like a reconnection with your elders too. I think this whole series in general just focuses on like just like I guess bonding moments, right? Or like
Mhm.
getting in touch with your roots as well. Um as far as like actual like superhero stuff, I feel like it's a little bit weaker than other stuff we've seen, like maybe like Moon Knight or WandaVision or stuff like that, but that doesn't make it like terrible in a way, but I don't know, it kind of like and that ending too, we got like so Cameron he survives, but he doesn't know that Kojima's dead by now. And then he kind of like crashes with Bruno a bit. That was I felt like they were like I don't know, they're kind of like buddy cops now or something. But and then he gets powers all of a sudden too, which is weird. I didn't understand that part.
Yeah, I don't get it. And man, I'm telling you, this show takes from like a lot of other shows because that kind of reminded me of Iron Fist, in a way, especially the ending from season two. Um, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. And have I ever mentioned this before? I don't know, but now I realize like how Kamala's powers are. It always reminded me of Green Lantern. That's what I wanted to say. I don't know if I ever mentioned that
Ah,
before.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It,
kind
it
of.
does. It's such like a Green Lantern thing because you would figure, okay, they would use these projections and like it's basically an extension of her body, but most of the time it's just actually her throwing out like shields or something. Um, and my question also to you is like, what are your predictions for the next episode? Because we do see that Cameron and Bruno were hanging out basically, and Kamala was back there and Karachi. But then a drone from damage control shows up. I'm sorry, damage control shows up, right? And uh, do you think that Cameron will actually be like a villain somehow to Kamala, or like is
He's
she
definitely
going to
this.
like team
This
up?
definitely like felt like a down path towards like him kind of like becoming a villain.
Yeah,
Especially when he finds out what's gonna happen. What happened with his aunt too, or is that his aunt or his mother? I forgot. Well,
that's his mother.
his mother. So it's like finding out like his mother died. Um, I feel like he might like harbor some resentment towards Kamala because like why didn't you save her or something like that. Um, and then like he has powers too, so that's probably gonna be like I don't know. They'll probably like lead up to this big fight because Kamala really for the most part doesn't have like any like real villains in this show.
Mm.
I don't know like what her rogues gallery looks like in the comics too, but yeah, I could see like Cameron like going down like this dark path or something. And also we get like a farewell to Red Dagger as well in this episode, but he's like, just like call me. Like, I was like,
Yeah,
he said
yeah.
like I'm just like a call away. I'm like, dude, you live in fucking like Pakistan, like, like
They gotta
the
all use
minutes you'd have
WhatsApp
to like, yeah, I'm gonna say like you better like Skype or something,
or go to a 7-Eleven, get a
right?
calling
Get
card.
those prepaid cards or some shit. Like you think you're just a call, I can just like hit you up like anytime.
Right.
um, but yeah, I don't know. What are your predictions for how the show will end?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's going to be like a huge ending. I think all the huge stuff kind of came already. And again, it's more of like an exploration of family ties, and just like culture. It's emphasized a lot in there. Whereas like with Moon Knight and stuff, obviously the main protagonist
Mm.
was Jewish, but he was, he went to Egypt
And
plenty of
kind of like
times. Or
everybody knows now that Kamala is Miss Marvel now because her mom
yeah,
found out. Like Nakia found out too, so she's gonna have to deal with that when she gets back.
But
Um,
at the same time too, that can open doors for Kamala because now she can fully embrace her superhero side. Whereas in the beginning, you and I were talking about like, will it be difficult for her to kind of like she's split, kind of like I have to be like a good Muslim girl, and then I have to also be a superhero because I have this responsibility now. Now, knowing that her great grandmother, her grandmother, and her mother now all, they basically know in some shape, way, or form. I think that opens doors. So I think for the ending, I it might be like a tussle. I'd say like I think that's the best word to say like between Cameron and Kamala. Um, but I think Damage Control is gonna be like the main antagonist. At the same time too, I think it's going to wrap loose ends. So I think it's gonna be like a very sincere thing because we don't know if this will ever have season two. Like that's the notion with Disney Plus stuff. It's like we're doing shows, but they're basically miniseries. There's no promise there will be a season two, which I
well, the
feel
way
weird about.
the way I see
Huh?
it's like with Marvel, there is kind of like always an expectation that they'll leave the door open for another season. So I could definitely
Right.
see this probably having a season two, because a lot of shows already, I think, if they're not greenlighted, they've already been in talks. So it's like I think Marvel really wants to expand as much as possible all their characters. So I could definitely see a season two for this. Maybe the stakes get more grander because it's like this season was basically just like her like discovering her powers. So it's like I feel like it's kind of like an Iron Fist situation where like he kind of like just rediscovered himself. So now in season two, the stakes get a little larger. As
Mm.
far as like consequences, like especially because she's a high school student, so there's so much room for her to like grow and develop. Um, but yeah, I don't know, but I think overall, I enjoyed this episode. I really liked it, um, because I like seeing like everybody's kind of like changed their ways in a bit. Like her mom is becoming like more, I guess, empathetic because like her mom too was like a little like rebellious when she was younger too. Like they talked about like that because like every generation, I guess, like has like a rebellious stage, right?
Right.
So it was kind of like
Absolutely.
cute to see like her and her mom like reconnecting because her mom for the most part just been kind of like so strict. Even like when she was
Mm.
trying to like find her on her iPhone, like, oh, why has nobody told me about the Find Your iPhone app? um,
Exactly.
yeah, but yeah, I guess wrap up your thoughts on this episode for us.
Yeah, so it's going to end pretty soon next week, the time of this recording. I think this episode was, again, as we said, really sincere. If you made it to the end, we greatly appreciate you. I'm sorry, by the way, if there's like a little bit lagging on my end. We're just having like some issues. We'll get those out of the way shortly, hopefully at least. But yeah, so we're wrapping this up. It's if you guys can please drop a like, subscribe. We're also gonna wrap up The Boys this week, which is very sad for us because we love The Boys. But we're also doing another episode for The Boys after episode 8. So we're doing something new where we're gonna kind of like a freeform discussion of the whole season 3 and also the series in general, and just talk about The Boys since we do love The Boys. And I don't know if we'll really do that for Miss Marvel, but we will see. So we have plenty of playlists. We wrapped up Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you're new to this channel, obviously we do reviews. We do reviews for movies, TV shows, predictions, reactions as well. We have plenty of content for you guys to digest. We just did the Terminal List. Check that out. We actually quite enjoyed that show. It's a little controversial at the moment, but we enjoyed it. But, Dylan, take us away.
Yeah, and actually, we're coming close to our 100th episode for this podcast. So it's been an awesome ride. Thank you guys so much for supporting us any way you can. This podcast for us is really a passion project where we can really like just like talk about like things that we love and that you guys love. So if you'd like to see this channel grow and talk about more things in the future that you really like, please leave a like, a comment. Subscribe to our podcast on any platform that you're listening to on, and leave a review if you find that our podcast might be a little weak. We enjoy your critiques and feedback as well. So thank you guys if you made it to the end. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And until then, thank you very much with us.
See you guys.